Hey everybody, welcome back to Old Man Van Running. I'm here to do my first impressions of the all-new Brooks Glycerin GTS 19 stability shoe. So last year, Brooks had the Glycerin in this category, and then that was their neutral, max cushion shoe. And then they had the Transcend, which was the stability shoe. The GTS 19 version of the Glycerin is the replacement of the Transcend from a year ago and previous years. So what Brooks has done this year is they've taken the Glycerin and taken the exact same shoe and simply added their guide rail stability system to this shoe to turn it into what they call the GTS version, or go-to support. Some people like to call it go-to stability. And if this shoe really works out well for me, for those long runs, this could turn out to be Old Man Van's go-to shoe. So why the Glycerin GTS 19? Well, from a couple of weeks ago when I posted my shoe review of the Saucony Guide 14 Moderate Stability Daily Trainer, I was looking for a stability daily trainer that had a lower heel to toe drop than the Brooks Adrenaline series, which has a 12 millimeter heel to toe drop. And that's 12 millimeters higher in the heel than in the forefoot. I was looking for no more than 10 millimeter heel to toe drop. In the Guide 14, that was 8 millimeters. And here in the Brooks Glycerin GTS 19, we have a 10 millimeter heel to toe drop, 10 millimeters higher in the heel than in the forefoot. Now, stack height, Brooks doesn't list that on their website. So I've heard, anywhere from like 30 millimeters to maybe around 31. Don't really know what that stack height is. I suppose I could measure it, but hey, I didn't. Let me tell you right now, there's plenty of the DNA Loft midsole material in this shoe, heel to toe. What I love about the stability features here with the guide rails is they're nice and, they're firmer than the midsole material, which is really, really cushy. But they're not intrusive, right? They're not intrusive like a big medial post that you would see on some of the motion control shoes and historically in stability shoes. And to be honest, even in the Saucony Guide 14, there is a big piece of much firmer material, albeit not intrusive like you would have got 4 or 5 years ago. So as I said, the GTS 19, the Glycerin GTS 19, is the exact same shoe as their neutral Glycerin 19. All that's different are these guide rails. Now, what I really like about this shoe, I was looking for a daily trainer that would be cushioned enough to take me over a half marathon distance, 15 miles, 18 miles, 20 miles. I was able to do that in the Adrenaline, but I wanted a little bit more cushioning. And again, with the lower heel to toe drop, this shoe fits right in the sweet spot. Going on some more about the numbers, I already went over the heel to toe drop. The weight in this shoe really isn't that bad. It's 10.7 ounces in a men's size 9. The Saucony Guide 14, which I said felt pretty light on the foot, was only 10.5 ounces in a men's size 9. So only 0.2 ounces more in the Glycerin GTS 19. And the neutral version of the Glycerin 19 is only 10.5 ounces. So again, or is it 10.2 ounces, I think. So not a whole lot of difference there. It's not too heavy. It's not really, really light. But, when you're looking for a daily trainer, especially a stability daily trainer that has plenty of cushioning, a lot of midsole material here that can go the distance. You want something that's got support, got some heft to it, but it doesn't feel like a brick on your feet. As I mentioned, this DNA Loft midsole material is really, really nice. I love it in the Adrenalines, and I love it even more after a couple of runs in the GTS 19. So you can see, it's very, very soft. I'm able to depress it pretty easily with my fingers. But I say soft, but not marshmallowy soft. I didn't sink into it. I didn't feel like it was just like, oh, you sink into it and then you bottom out. No, You know, it's a controlled cushioning is, I think, the way I would call it. You sink into it, but slowly. It's kind of like letting the air out slowly. Doesn't feel like it's going to bottom out. Doesn't feel unstable. It compresses in a controlled fashion like you're letting the air out, but then it rebounds pretty well. And so it's got a little bit of a pop. It's got some responsiveness in it, like it does in the Adrenalines, although there's a little bit more in the forefoot and in the heel in this shoe. If we look at the outsole, you've got plenty of blown rubber where you need it. You've got some flex grooves in the front, although this shoe is not as flexible as the Saucony Guide 14 that I reviewed a couple weeks ago. Still is more than flexible enough. With that more midsole material, it's not going to be super, super flexible. Going back to the outsole, on the lateral side at the midfoot, there's no rubber. If you're a midfoot striker, you might get a little bit of wear there. But most folks who wear stability shoes heel strike, and this yellow rubber here, and especially right around this corner here, is where you're going to get most of your wear. The Adrenalines, plenty of good wear on those. I get 300 to 400 miles on them. And I'm assuming that I should get about the same wear out of the Glycerin GTS 19. Brooks uses its 3D fit technology, which really designs the upper so it fits most foot types pretty well. I can tell you that this upper is very, very comfortable, nice engineered mesh, very soft. The toe box was wide enough, but not too wide. It was actually a little narrower than the Adrenaline GTSs, but felt really, really good on my feet. My feet were able to, or my toes were able to splay pretty darn well in this shoe, and it was really comfortable from the first time I put them on. Around the midfoot, it does have, you know, some 3D overlays here, which give it some more structure. Felt really, really good around the midfoot. Not too narrow, you know, a little bit more narrow than the Adrenaline, but kind of hit the sweet spot for me. And my feet are kind of not too wide, but they're also not too narrow either. So fit really good. The sock liner is very, very comfortable, just like in the Adrenalines. Again, first time in, when you put your feet in, it feels like the shoe's broken in and you can go run 10, 15 miles right out of the box. Just like the Adrenalines, and I keep going back to the Adrenalines because I really like them, is a very well padded ankle collar and heel collar. Very, very comfortable. And there's some structure here on the outside. Locks your foot down really well. There's not a flare like a lot of the shoes are coming out with now at the top of the heel collar, but I've never had an issue with Brooks shoes rubbing too much on my Achilles. They always lock my heel down very well, and this is really, really comfortable. Another thing I like about the Brooks Adrenaline GTS 21s and also these Glycerin GTS 19s is a very well padded tongue here. Very well padded, very comfortable. It is gusseted way down in there, so it's not going to move around too much. Really comfortable on the top of your foot. The laces I really liked, or I really like on this shoe. You know, they're not stretchy like on the Saucony Guide 14, so I had no problem adjusting them the first time out and getting a good lockdown that wasn't too tight, wasn't too loose. It was just right, like a bowl of porridge. That's exactly what I'm looking for. They're cushioned, or they're thick enough so there's some cushion to them and some heft, but they really do a good job of locking my foot down and staying in place. Looking at the heel counter, nice and stiff, provides a really stable and good lockdown in the heel. You see the guide rails here on the medial side and then on the lateral side. Again, it's a little firmer material than the midsole material, and it gently guides your foot, keeps your foot from, you know, when it wants to collapse in, it just gently guides you back in place. And when you're supinating too much, gently guides you back in place. That's kind of like the bumpers on a bowling lane. So those bumpers are up, you roll the ball down the lane, you're heading towards the gutter, hits that bumper and it kind of moves it back onto the lane, right? And either way, it's going to keep redirecting you back into the lane. And that's exactly what happens with these guide rails. As you're starting to go either way too far, it gently guides you back in, gently guides you back in. So I really like it. I think Brooks has really refined mild stability features that don't overcorrect your feet. How would I rate, on my first impressions, the Brooks Glycerin GTS 19? Well, let me tell you, I'm going to give the Brooks Glycerin GTS 19 a 9.75 on a scale of 10. Why? Here's exactly why. It's got the right heel to toe drop. It felt really comfortable out there for me. When I put my feet into these shoes, they fit perfect right out of the box. They weren't too tight. They weren't too loose. They locked down well. Just felt right for my feet. As far as the stability features, again, I'm used to it in the Adrenaline GTS series, and it just works for me. Lastly, the cushioning on here. How do I describe the cushioning? It's controlled cushioning. It's not too squishy, but it's got plenty of softness there, but the right kind of softness. And it's a responsive softness as well. It does have a little bit of pop, so it doesn't feel like you've just got a big piece of squishy foam under your feet. Hey, thanks again for watching this video. If you listen to me now, you got to the end of it, and that's pretty darned impressive. Hey, you know what? If you liked it, feel free to leave comments below, and also feel free to hit the like button below. And that's not a thumbs down. That's a thumbs up. It's just the buttons down there. And by the way, if you want to see more videos, if you want to get notified more videos, please hit the subscribe button as well. And you'll get notified when I post some more shoe reviews or videos of other subjects around running. So as I always leave you, remember, lace up your shoes and let's get out on the roads.